In 2008, photographs of an uncontacted indigenous tribe in a remote region of the Amazon rainforest provided definitive proof that, even in the hyper-connected modern world, there remain small communities of people living in complete isolation from what we call civilization. Now, new images of what experts believe to be the same group have revealed further details about their culture and way of life. Brazilian photographer Ricardo Stuckert captured the images from a helicopter while on a research trip in the state of Acre, located in western Brazil, close to the border with Peru. Originally published by National Geographic, the images provide a closer look at the tribe's people, revealing their intricate body paint, varied hairstyles, and weaponry. Members of the tribe grabbed their arrows after spotting the helicopter. Ricardo Stuckert Jose Carlos Mireles, who is also taking part in the research, told National Geographic that although the tribe was spotted in a different location to that photographed in 2008, it is likely to be the same group of people, adding that they appear to be semi-nomadic, moving every 4 years or so. The pictures show a traditional thatched house known as a maloca, as well as some of the group's weaponry, with one member of the tribe threatening the helicopter with a bow and arrow. According to Stuckert, the members of the tribe were more inquisitive than fearful, and there was a mutual curiosity between the photographer and his subjects. A tribesman strings his bow, while several more look on. Ricardo Stuckert, however, despite the apparent good health of the tribe, which Mireles estimates to include about 300 members scattered among various nearby settlements, anthropologists are concerned that illegal miners and loggers could soon encroach on their territory. Previous instances of contact between Westerners and tribespeople have had disastrous consequences, with the indigenous custodians of the Amazon forest invariably coming off worse. Outbreaks of diseases to which these people have no immunity, as well as violent clashes, have wiped out entire tribes in the past, leading to fears that history could repeat itself. The pictured tribe are living in a protected territory where heavy penalties are imposed on unauthorized invaders. Yet across the border in Peru, the situation is not policed quite as efficiently, and illegal activities are rife in many indigenous homelands. As the distance between the tribe and these unwelcome intruders decreases, the danger of extinction becomes ever more acute. The tribe's maloca, surrounded by untouched Amazonian rainforest. Ricardo Stuckert, a tribesman wearing intricate body paint, prepares to defend the maloca. Ricardo Stuckert. Donald Trump may have won the U.S. presidency, but in 6 of the 9 states that were asked to decide on marijuana legalization on Election Day, more people actually voted for weed than voted for Trump himself. And with medical marijuana now available in more countries than ever before, the coming years could see a massive explosion in cannabis research across the globe. Yet while America's budding president-elect may be a little green when it comes to politics, the same can't be said for his stance on drugs. Given the increasing demand for medicinal marijuana, though, researchers are beginning to wonder if the U.S. could ever become the cannabis capital of the world. Cannabis research in the U.S. One of the Obama administration's final acts was to allow the D to begin handing out licenses for pot growers to produce marijuana for research purposes. This is important because, until now, scientists have only been allowed to obtain their weed from the National Institute on Drug Abuse, NIDA. However, the strains provided by NIDA are far weaker than those prescribed or sold commercially, which significantly compromises the validity of all cannabis research in the U.S. Rick Doblin, the founder and executive director of the Multidisciplinary Association for Psychedelic Studies, MAPS, told physicians that we can't use NIDA marijuana for clinical studies because it's not available for prescription sales. So we have to end the NIDA monopoly. Yet in spite of the government's pledge to open up cannabis research, Doblin says that the D has still not given anybody other than NIDA a license to grow. And Trump's intention to appoint the staunchly conservative Jeff Sessions as Attorney General has Doblin worried that the new administration could nip marijuana research in the bud. Even though the D said that it would end the NIDA monopoly, that doesn't mean that the new Attorney General will follow through on that. so it's not clear what's going to happen as far as whether anybody will actually get a license, he says. The intoxicating cocktail of science and politics then becomes even more confusing when you add business to the mix. With marijuana now legal in several U.S. states, there's little incentive for pharmaceutical companies to sponsor research into the drug, since the wide availability of generic cannabis means they can't control the market. However, while it may not be worth their while carrying out research on marijuana itself, they can create and sell products that use specific ingredients found in cannabis. Pharmaceutical companies are going to pick apart the marijuana plant, develop isolated cannabinoids and non-smoking delivery systems, and patent them, says Doblin. Next page, full article. As humans, who are we to criticize other creatures' feeding habits? I mean, we invented the cronut. Some animals, however, can't afford to be picky, so it was with some surprise that new research suggests Adelie penguins actually have a particular taste for jellyfish with rather prominent gonads. Each to their own, we guess. Last year, researchers from the French and Japanese National Antarctic Programs, backed by the World Wildlife Foundation, WWF, studied Adelie penguins in their native habitat using tiny penguin cams to see what they got up to under the ice. The footage was released last December and garnered lots of attention as people's curiosity got the better of them. However, the researchers were studying the footage closely too, in order to try and discover essential information about the behavior of these penguins that might help us better understand and protect them. A year later, they have released some of the results. The fact that penguins like to feed on krill is well documented. However, the footage showed that even if krill was available to snack on, the penguins instead made a beeline for jellyfish with large gonads when they were in the vicinity. We were surprised to see the penguins go for jellyfish, Jean-Baptiste Thibet of Japan's National Institute of Polar Science said. It raised the question: is this new behavior for Adelie penguins possibly developed because they had a hard time finding food during this year of very unusual sea ice conditions? Or is it simply newly revealed by using this video approach to study their diet? The researchers suspect that the reason penguins go for the particularly eye-catching gonads is because they offer up a higher nutritious protein content than the rest of the jellyfish. The wildlife information gathered by the researchers and their penguin cams is being used by the WWF to help in the creation of marine protected areas around the Antarctic. Species like Adelie penguins are already being affected by overfishing and climate change, so understanding more about their feeding habits will go a long way towards understanding the threats posed to them and how to manage them in the future. A year on from the release of the penguin cam footage, it's clear that we still have a lot to learn about Adelie penguins and other ice species, Rod Downey, WWF Polar Program Manager, said. The results give us a better understanding of how they might respond to climate change and related shifts in the Antarctic food web. The year 2016 has been absolutely awful in almost every way. Death, destruction, Brexit, Trump, and, of course, constant reminders that climate change is our fault, that it's speeding up, and that sea levels are rising, and hurricanes are coming to consume our cities. Speaking of which, climate change also appears to have unleashed quite a few horrors other than, disintegrating the Arctic and scorching the deserts. Several things that have been overlooked in the past, or buried beneath the ice, or even hiding within the corpses of the dead, seriously, are escaping and generally causing a bit of a pandemonium. So, as we wave goodbye to 2016 in the most offensive way possible, let's take a look at all the nasty little nightmares the warming planet has gifted us with over the last 12 months. 1. Zombie anthrax. Once upon a time in Siberia, there was an anthrax outbreak. This killed off a fair few people and a lot of reindeer. Their corpses were frozen beneath permafrost and ice, never to see the light of day again, or so it seemed. Unfortunately, the pace of climate change means that summers are warmer and winters are milder, and the permafrost is becoming decidedly less permanent. the frozen corpses of the deceased began reappearing at the surface, and sleeping spores starting waking up. Now, a brand new outbreak is once again killing off people and slaughtering reindeer, and Christmas is ruined. 2. Extremely small reindeer. A lonely reindeer somewhere on Svalbard. Dinozor Shutterstock. While we're on the subject of reindeer, the warmer winters up in Norway's Svalbard archipelago mean that rain is occurring more frequently. This causes more superficial frost and ice to form, which entombs a lot of their delicious lichen food supply within a frozen prison. Many reindeer have been starving to death, and those that survive are malnourished. This causes mothers to give birth to stunted offspring, and already, within the last 16 years, reindeer have shrunk by as much as 12%. Oddly, warmer summers mean that there's more food available during that time of year, which means that the reindeer population is actually increasing overall. So, essentially, armies of tiny reindeer are beginning to spread across Norway's Arctic. It's not clear how small they can get before they essentially become Pokémon. Next page, full article. Reindeer are an integral part of Christmas stories. Santa's faithful 8, Dasher, Dancer, Prancer, Vixen, Comet, Cupid, Donner, Blitzen, have been pulling Santa's sleigh and helping deliver gifts to children worldwide on Christmas Eve since the early 19th century, when they were first name-checked in the poem The Night Before Christmas. And what is Christmas without Rudolph? But things have not been going so great recently for our favorite Christmassy creatures, and reindeer are facing an uncertain future. Does Santa need to start looking for a new mode of transport? Victims of climate change. Several studies have come out this year expressing concern for the future of reindeer populations due to the adverse effect of global warming temperatures on everything from their diet to their habitat. At least 80,000 reindeer have starved to death in the Arctic in last decade due to famine caused by unprecedented weather patterns. Some 20,000 reindeer died in 2006, and then in 2013 Arctic Russia saw a mass die-off of 61,000 reindeer. Scientists have recently confirmed in a new study that both events are not only linked but were caused by the same thing and could very likely happen again. During those years, unseasonably late warm temperatures in the Arctic meant low sea ice cover, which in turn increased the humidity and evaporation, causing heavy rainfall. When the winter temperatures then dropped, the wet ground froze into a hard impenetrable layer of ice instead of the soft snow that would allow the reindeer to forage for food. Reindeer are capable of smashing ice a couple of centimeters thick to get to the vegetation that lies beneath. But in those 2 years the ice was tens of centimeters thick, impossible to access. As a result, thousands starved to death. As we have reported multiple times this year, 2016 smashed the record for the hottest year and lowest sea ice extent to date, so the likelihood of this set of circumstances happening again is, unfortunately, more than likely. Christmas with the family. Incredible Arctic Shutterstock zombie anthrax. This year also saw a heat wave in Siberia melt some of the permafrost, unleashing an outbreak of anthrax that was blamed on a decomposing reindeer carcass that had been felled by a previous outbreak and then preserved in the icy tundra, only to be thawed out by unseasonably warm weather. This outbreak not only killed at least 2,500 reindeer, but at least 13 people were infected, and one person killed too. Next page, full article.